because we operate on a global scale, we always try to find ways to connect our community and enable knowledge sharing amongst our members and the community calls that we have as one format in which we do that. So we're super happy to open up this format, not just to the gig members, but to all of the different networks connected to the MakerTech project, and welcome you all here today. So for the program, for the hour that we have together, I would say a few words about MakerTech. I would then welcome our two speakers. I think we're just waiting for the other one to sign in, but I did speak to her today, so I'm sure she'll be here in just a few minutes. And then we would hear their inputs, about 5 to 10 minutes each. And then we basically just have an open space for conversations, for questions. If anybody else is working on related topics, then oh, I see Sama already. She's here. How lovely. Hi, Sama. Then you're welcome to come in and share also about your work and any other cases or examples or topics that you want to bring in related to the topic of today's call, which is, of course, adaptive and inclusive design, and how we can connect that also to circularity and sustainable design. And yeah, and then we get to engage in conversation. So few very quick words about MakerTech. It's a New Horizon Europe project that we just started in February. It will be going on for 3 years. And the core of what we'll be doing at MakerTech is creating pop-up makerspaces focused on circular fashion and craft in libraries, because we see libraries as a vital space for today's societies, for knowledge sharing, and for engaging the wider society in topics around the circular economy. And with MakerTech, we also want to bring together different communities, especially designers, creatives, people working in the fashion and craft sector on different topics that relate to how to make fashion and craft, on the one hand, more circular and sustainable, but also how we can use it as a tool for change, whether it's by seeing it through a language that we can reach people with, or through a tool of empowerment that we can, yeah, support people in their everyday lives with. And I think that kind of already brings us to the topic that we want to focus on today. I'll check quickly. Do you have any preferences of who goes first, Saad or Sama?
Yeah, I can start. I'm open for anything.
Okay, cool. Then let me introduce you quickly, and then I'll pass right over to you. We're super excited that you're here in our call today. So Salma Gedik is the founder of Augenhöhe. She's also a lecturer and expert in inclusive design, and a design strategist lecturer here in Berlin. And Auf Augenhöhe is a multi-award-winning label, began with a kind of personal mission. Maybe you'll share a bit more with us about that, Selma, as well, but has grown into what I would say is kind of like a collective or a movement for adaptive and inclusive design. And we're excited to hear more about it from you today. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the short introduction. I would like to start with a short video as an impulse. Let me share one video with you. Why doesn't it work? Somehow I can't share here in video. I don't know why when I click on share. Do you know why?
It should work from the settings. Do you want to try one more time?
Sorry. Okay, you're right. It was from my setting.
we only see your
We can't
graph.
see it yet.
I think we could hear it, but not see it.
Do you hear it?
We heard a fun sound happening.
Okay, cool.
But there's no visual.
You don't see in visual?
No.
Oh no, why is that happening? Sorry, I will try again. But in my case, it shows that. Okay, do you see now a visual?
We see the thumbnails.
No, I think you're sharing the wrong kind of screen then, because you share the screen where you select the video and not the one where the video is shown.
Okay, let me try again last time. And if it doesn't work, then I just keep going with my, sorry, I wanted to show you. Let me check.
Looks like you are sharing the community call find a window. Yeah, just the folder. So if you double click the video and try to share again your screen, then you'll be able to select the video, because at this moment you are just sharing your Finder window.
Ah, yeah, but you see my screen, right?
Yeah.
No, not the whole screen, just the Finder window.
Okay. So when I click on it, then you must see it, no?
No, we will keep seeing the
again.
Finder window. Yeah, you have to stop sharing, open the video first, and then share again and select the video. So open the video first.
Ah, yeah, okay, let me do that. Okay. And I'm digital native, guys. Okay, so let's try again. I will share here. Now you see it, right?
Yes.
Perfect. We got it. Thank you so much, Ricardo. So now you saw the video, yay, we made it. This was why I wanted to show you this video, is because actually this was one of our very, very first videos we created, like super spontaneously, when it was still a project and not a company. There were no sizing chart systems and so on. It was just like a photo shooting from the first collection I did during my fashion design university time. But let's start from the beginning. I am Sema, I'm the founder of Augenhöhe, and with Auf Augenhöhe we are creating a inclusive fashion world. So everything started with a student project. I was studying, as I mentioned, at the University of Applied Science in Berlin. Actually, I'm now here at this university because today I am teaching inclusive design at this university. And yeah, today it's a company, and all this project and what you are seeing from Auf Augenhöhe and what you saw at the video started because I have a cousin who's a person of short stature, and from her I know that we never had the same access actually to the world. And during my studies I was wondering what I should do and what my role could be in this industry, because I kind of during my studies did a lot of interns. I wanted to see the industry, how the industry is working in the economy, what does it mean in the industry to be a fashion designer. And during this time I realized that actually that what I saw and what I learned from the industry, it's not at all where I want to be, because I didn't see the sense anymore. I wanted to create projects which really need something, which are created newly. And so I was talking with my family and with my friends a lot, that the fashion industry actually is fucked up, because we are creating more and more clothing for people who anyway have so much. And then my parents and my sisters said, well, you can change something. Think about someone who's so close to us. And of course, it was my cousin Funda. So then I started to check and research. It's true, like why I never saw like campaigns with disabled people. It was like 2012 when everything started. Why don't I see any campaigns where you see different body proportions? Why is the industry so normative? Why can't we, see more diverse body types, diverse people? And in my research, I understood that the industry is working through a norm, confectional size norm, which was already created from hundreds of years ago. Like in Germany, for example, this is Müller and Sohn. Most of the companies are working with the confectional size system, which Müller and Sohn created 100 years ago. And it was really minimum of development of the existing sizing system. So I was wondering if it's possible to recreate or adapt the sizing system which we have already in the industry. And I started to measure worldwide disabled people, not only short stature people like my cousin. I measured body types of different disabled bodies, like wheelchair users, people with dwarfism, short stature people, people with protease. I exchanged with people who can't see and have visual issues. And and I talked to their parents, their friends, to understand how the actual market is working and what the wish would be from this community, and how we could create the industry more inclusive. So during my university time, so from 2012 to 2018, so during my bachelor and master thesis time, I measured, as I said, different body types and collected these body data, and analyzed the bodies of all the data I collected, and understood that it's possible to create a completely new sizing system. Outside of Augenhöhe went, because of resources like human and money resources, we are still presenting of Augenhöhe as the company for people of short stature, because we have a size chart system for people of short stature. So our customers worldwide can shop at our company as we are used to shop, like regarding to sizing system. But what we also do is we are consulting today companies, like smaller and bigger companies, how they can rethink their portfolio, how designers who are working in design companies can rethink designing processes, methods, to create more and more accessible and inclusive designs. So this is actually what we are doing. Like we are, on the one hand, selling ourselves the clothing for short stature people, but on the other hand, this is our second pillar. We are consulting companies how they can make more inclusive fashion designs, and how can they also broaden their portfolio and rethink also their existing sizing systems. So and regarding the circularity and sustainability, we understood that this topic is not only important for the industry to be more inclusive, it's also important to, when you are thinking about the sustainability, circularity, it's even more important, because when you are starting in your system as a company to think from the beginning on how you can create clothes which fit people who were historically ignored by the industry, then you are saving a lot of resources. Because currently what is happening in the market is that when disabled people are shopping clothes, they are going to tailors, getting some alterations done. And so it's a long way in the system. And when you are cutting, for example, clothes, the arms to make it shorter, for example, or to legs to make it more accessible for wheelchair users, the rest of the fabric which are happening is just a trash. So most of the time, nothing is happening with the rest of the fabric. So I think inclusion and sustainability in the industry are really important topics where we have to find still a bridge. And this is what Auf Augenhöhe is more and more working on, how we can combine inclusion and sustainability. And recently we had, until 1 month ago, also a big collaboration with, for example, Fashion Revolution Germany, where we really thought about how we can think inclusion and sustainability together. So, and I wanted to say that some collaboration opportunities which Auf Augenhöhe can build up and offer this community is that we can make open source patterns. We can also digitalize body measurement tool. We can also create manuals, how we can rethink the existing garments in a way to make it more inclusive or accessible for people who are from today on ignored. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sama. That was really great to hear and learn about. And this is exactly why you're invited today, because I feel you're kind of sort of spearheading, bringing these different thought processes or areas together. So it was really great to hear how you started to think these things as one complex, and would love to learn about it more in the discussion. But thanks very much for sharing with us. I pass over to Saad now. Saad Chinoy is a dear member of the gig community and has been so for many years. And he does a lot of really amazing things, including running different types of makerspaces. He initiated, for instance, the edible makerspace that brings together citizen science through food and fermentation, but also Salvage Garden, a non-profit makerspace for assistive technology. And that's what Saad is going to be sharing with us today, the work that he's doing there in adaptive design, not in the fashion area, but in another very important area. Over to you, Saad.
Thank you, Geraldine. It's super inspiring work, Sima. Thank you for sharing. My work is centered around trying to be more inclusive, bring people into the process of making things that are customized. So let me share a couple of visuals. Hope you can see this. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, based in Singapore. My background is in tech, so I'm very much in awe of people who work with fashion and design. In Singapore also, this is a field that I'm very actively looking into, and there are a couple of, I think, potential collaborations that we can explore later on. But what I want to focus on is the makerspace and the fact that we operate in a library. This is the Punggol Regional Library, which is the newest in the Singapore's branches of libraries. And what's special about it is, apart from the fact that it became famous for having a very cool looking internal space, it became very Instagrammable. On the adult section, we have a makerspace with a whole bunch of 3D printers and sewing machines and laser cutters and a bunch of other small little things. And just like the rest of the library, the space is available to the public. But what's special about this particular branch is that it was designed for accessibility from the ground up. So it is inclusive for people with mobility needs, but also for invisible disabilities. So it sort of sets an example for other libraries in Singapore to follow. But the makerspace by the nature of it being in this physical space, is also accessible. So it opens up an opportunity to bring in people with disabilities and their caregivers to fabricate things that may be customized to their individual needs. The thing that we, as a group of volunteers and nonprofit people, we got quite upset about was how things as simple as toys for children with disabilities are not accessible. And looking into this, we found the reason is the toys are significantly less in price compared to the accessibility tools that make them interactive for the kids. And this is something that exists across the spectrum. Generally, things that are labeled as assistive tend to be super expensive. And for something as simple as a button, $65 to $200 doesn't really make sense. So the problem that we are fixated on, and most people who come to us are also expressing, is that customization and personalization is out of reach. And we, as a group of volunteers, suggested, rather than thinking in terms of like productization or offering solutions, adopting the Mako mindset, the way of thinking where you're able to make your own devices or objects, but not just to help reduce the cost, but open up opportunities to balance other things. So it starts the conversation about how we might rethink what is established as a norm or is available online, and becomes like a barrier to people thinking outside the box. So this way of thinking doesn't just, it's not just about 3D printing. It's about thinking outside the box and repurposing objects that may be available and thinking about using them in different ways. The nature of our work is volunteer-based. So we're not trying to sell anything, but the underlying principle, the idea and the joy of making things is what drives what we do. And working with caregivers is perfect because they have an understanding of the challenges that the person that they're caring for, they're able to translate that need into something physical and tangible. And so what we do is teach people how to make things, how to modify things. You take the toys apart and don't be afraid of breaking them. So they are able to think beyond what's available in the marketplace, and these DIY makerspace-y type approaches sit side by side with assistive devices and are being able to adapt to the person's need rather than the person trying to adapt to the devices that they spend lots of money on, which kind of echoes this sentiment. The idea around what we're doing at the Makerspace it opens up the opportunity to imbibe and invite people to express themselves through their devices instead of feeling like they are hampered by them or dependent on them. This idea is still very new to the Singapore and Southeast Asian cultural context, but through these objects that we 3D print at the library, we're able to draw from the person's specific way of using things, but at the same time, we're able to express their personality in some certain way. Even if it's as simple as, look, I want this in pink, or this is white is boring and it reminds me of the hospital. It's not a medical thing. It's something that gets attached to my wheelchair, and my wheelchair is an extension of me, so it should be in the color that I like. And if it's as simple as that, it extends this idea that 3D printing is not just for practical purposes. It can be to express your personality. So here I have a couple of examples of things that were printed that are representative of people's specific needs. All of these are open source and available online. They're fabricated in the library and in response to conversation with the person who came in and expressed a difficulty with certain things. But because we have access to this in a makerspace, we're able to constructively suggest solutions that may be as complex as a prosthetic device, or as simple as like a little handle that helps you hold a toothbrush in a different way. So this is kind of the nature of the work. There are a lot of solutions already online that are available, and most of the time we find people who come to us are surprised that things exist online that they can just download and print. And the outreach and awareness is something that never really stops. It remains a constant challenge. If something 3D printed, something simple, we're able to use that as a way to understand a person's specific needs. We're able to involve them in the co-creation process. And that's kind of core to what we're trying to do. It's not really about 3D printing or the maker mindset. It's about bringing people closer to the means of production and the idea of co-creating in a meaningful way. So this is our secret sauce. This is our little formula that seems to be working really well for us. And we've been doing this now every Sunday at the library with volunteers. We've been doing this now for over 100 Sundays. We recently celebrated 100 Sundays. We find every Sunday is unique, and we learn as much from the people who come to us, as well as the volunteers who decide to spend their Sundays trying to understand the needs of people with disabilities. So I hope that was helpful. I'm very keen to learn from others in this call. A lot of familiar faces. I'm sure the discussion will be fruitful.
Thank you so much, Saad. Lovely. It's always lovely to see visual impressions and learn more about your work. So I want to open the floor for questions. And like I said, also for anybody else who's like, wait a minute, I'm doing something that matches this and would also like to share. Maybe just 2 quick sentences. So MakerTech is a consortium that brings together many different networks. Fashion Revolution was mentioned earlier. We have Laura here from the European Craft Alliance and bringing together the network of crafters, so many fantastic libraries. So the idea is also to use this project to merge our worlds a little bit, to bring together all of your different expertises, and in the case that we have here today, for instance, Salma's expertise working in the area of fashion and Saad's expertise as a maker, sort of trying to solve very similar problems from 2 different approaches. But it's, as you could tell in their presentations, all about giving agency. I think co-creation was such an important term to use. And I just added a link to the chat earlier to a larger former Horizon project that many in the room here were involved in as well, called Careables, which is another sort of platform for devices and solutions created with and by people with different healthcare needs, different physical abilities, and different makers, just as one more resource shared. So yeah, really inspiring. Who would like to ask a question or share something of their own? Floor is open. Floor is open from now on till the end of the event. Questions as icebreakers, but I'll just give it a minute because it can take sometimes just a moment. You can, of course, also ask each other questions. Sandra, please.
I have a question for Selma around like how to adapt the different fashion items in a very like low effort way. Like, do you do some kind of parametric design, or are people relatively same height, or how does it work for the size chart and the height chart? That's super interesting, I think.
And Sandra's also part of GIG. Do feel free to, I mean, it says in your names, but if you want to introduce yourselves, over to you, Selma.
Okay, so there's a difference between adaptive and inclusive design. So I think this is important to mention, because adaptive design is when you're doing for a community, for certain body shapes, for certain needs, especially regarding those body proportions items. So for example, what Auf Augenhöhe did so far is adaptive design. So we created a size chart system for a certain community, for example, starting with people of short stature. And then we have also, of course, a size chart system for wheelchair users and so on. And inclusive design is when you create items which are accessible for the best case, everybody. So, and I think regarding your question, of course, when you are doing adaptive design, it is harder to adapt the existing clothes regarding the needs of, for example, short stature people. It's more complex. But it is possible that you are doing inclusive design items. For example, I don't know if you are a fashion designer also.
No, I'm
Okay. So it is possible to create the existing clothes in order that they are accessible for everybody, I'm afraid to say, but for bigger community amounts. So with closures methods, with methods of how you are creating your patterns, with certain ways like of techniques, it is possible to create this. For example, what we did is together with a company, we create for them a manual how they can create their existing portfolio in a way in the future that they are more accessible for different kind of people, like, yeah, for wheelchair users and so on. So with Auf Augenhöhe, when we started to create our clothes or create the size chart system for people of short stature, it is not comparable at all to the existing system, because it's a completely new, innovative, smart confectional size system, because people of short stature by their height are like an average, just that you understand it in a simple and basic words, the half of the of non short stature people. Then the arms and the legs are quite short, then the hip is quite wider. So it is not comparable at all with the existing confectional size system. And that's why it's super important, I think, when you are creating new products and a new system, that the co-creation, what Geraldine also and also Saad mentioned in his presentation, is very, very important, because with those co-creations, you understand what the real need is, what the wish is, and you start to be also smarter in the own way of how you are starting to design your own product. So my last sentence would be also, I learned as a fashion designer, when you are community driven, you start to rethink the whole design process. You don't create anymore what you think is beautiful and what you think should be in the market because you like it. Community-driven designers, like for example, Saad is doing or I am doing, is just focus on what are the needs of the community, what are the real needs, what the industry needs, what the society needs. And then it is not important at all if you think it's important, beautiful or not. It is just about the need of the community. And yeah, I learned a lot, I must say. And I learned also what it means to be sustainable designer.
This is super interesting, Summer. I think for all of us non-fashion designers, that was a really great way of just kind of sharing that perspective, and makes a lot of sense what you said. Max, over to you for a question or comment, please.
Max from Fashion Revolution, so also part of the consortium. And I'm also not a fashion designer, but at least I did study fashion design at some point. And well, I mean, Selma, we know each other anyway, but still I would have a question for you, because in Saad's presentation, there was clearly also this cost aspect. And I think in fashion, obviously, it's also a huge aspect. The whole industry has moved further and further into like a low-cost industry in many areas. Obviously, you have the high luxury, you have the discount, and everything in between. But this discount, this super cheap clothes, this super fast fashion has been growing exponentially in the last 10 years. And obviously, that's very contradictory to more individual pieces because that's the opposite usually. Now, I do see with like new stakeholders like Shein, Temu, there's already a bit of a change because they don't just produce in super high volumes anymore. They still produce even quicker than maybe H&M, Zara used to, but in smaller batches. So going down to 100, 200, 1,000 pieces instead of 100,000 in once. Do you see that the industry is kind of becoming a little bit more open also to this more individual styles? And do you see also, and what impact is there on the price level? Because I mean, if we do individual fashion in Europe, we usually are like exclusive quickly. So again, not good for, as you mentioned, like most of the people that might anyway not have the resources to buy into this. I just wondered if you could elaborate a little bit from this point of view. Where do we stand, and what do you think? How realistic is it that we now get into different systems like the one that you have developed?
Yeah, so thank you. I think it's a very important topic what you're mentioning, Max, because from day on, I asked the community, and when I say worldwide, I mean like 10 or 12 countries actually, like also in South America, when I was in European countries, I always asked, what is your wish, for example? And everybody in different languages, parents, disabled people themselves, they all said, we want to shop there where everybody else is shopping. We want to shop. When people shop at Shein, we want to shop at Shein. When people want to shop at Adidas, we want to shop at Adidas. We want to be as everybody else. And for me, this was in the beginning like, wow, okay, I hate these companies. Okay, focus on what the community wants. Focus on what the community wants. It's not what you want. It's not what, like, go a step back from your ego. It's like something really different. It's a new sphere where we are going into. But how can we make it possible that these big companies, which are worldwide known, that they are more impactful, purposeful, and how can we reach a point that they are also sustainable and inclusive at the same time? So what I am following, Max, regarding your question, that more and more in the past 5 years, big companies are more open to the topic of diversity and inclusion. And as I mentioned, like, we got the request from the companies we are, for example, Uniqlo. We are a consulting, we made collaborations, we made the first pilot projects together and so on. So I want to say that I follow that big companies are more open regarding that topic. Also, Zalando is making a big adaptive line and different big companies. But what I also follow is that most of the companies are then more slow regarding to when it comes to production, when it comes to the visibility, like a real visibility, a real customer use case, because then we are consulting, we are making the first pilot projects. But in the end of the day, right now, but I hope this will change in the future, the selling point regarding to inclusive product selling and sustainable product selling is still very silent and not there yet. But I always wonder why, because we have the technological movements, we have the developments of technologies like 3D printing, like digitalizations, like microfactoring is also like what another fashion hub here in Berlin is more and more putting a focus into, for example, Forn, Max knows this, where it's all about microfactoring. So what I want to tell you is, I think we have to find a way to rethink the whole industry system in a way that it's less cost efficiency for the companies, but where we show also we are using the digitalization in a smart way, that we make it open for everybody and not again a certain like normative group. Why? Yeah, I hope I could answer your question, Max, but I think there is an interest from the companies, but it is very slow and they're very silent. And when I come with telling we can use the new technologies, most of the time they're also open for it. But then the whole production and the system, the value system, how it's working, it's like from 100 years ago. I don't understand still why it is like this. I really don't know, but it is as it is. And I think we still need time to find a way how we can make less production in a smarter way, where we can focus on like inclusive fashion and adaptive fashion and so on. I think we are not yet there, and it will still take a lot of time to be there. But from Auf Augenhöhe's side, I can tell you that we have the data, we have different avatars, we have different patterns for different kind of people in different sizes. We really analyze the existing sizing system, and still, even though we would give a package, I doubt that next year it would happen that companies are selling adaptive clothing. And I'm still in my analyze why this could be. Maybe you have an idea. I don't know.
Other questions, comments? We have very many different, I would say, levels of expertise in the room, from the sort of more professional perspectives on these quite complex market topics to, of course, people who are quite new to this topic area. So don't be shy. There are only good inputs that you can make in this call. Maybe a quick question for Saad whilst waiting for other hands to go up, or maybe also to both of you in a way. Double question. Saad, the cooperation with the library, I mean, Singapore's not, is compared to many other countries in the world, quite an affluent place. Maybe you can share a little bit more how this collaboration came to be, and also the funding for the work that you're doing in the longer term, how that works to ensure that, yes, that it's a format that stays open to everyone, the way that you have it now. And I guess the question that could be to both of you is there, do you feel was like a difference in mindset shifting from thinking about how to make your work sustainable to how to make it perhaps even circular? And where, yeah, maybe Saad, you can also share a little bit where those concepts feature or are taking traction in the areas that you're working in.
It's an excellent point. Singapore is tiny as Singapore is an island, city, state, country, all rolled into one. It's just about 50 kilometers across. It's really small. So space is always expensive. So having access to a public space that is also accessible is incredibly rare to come by. To answer your question, how did this collaboration come about? Was entirely accidental. The library was scheduled to open sometime during the pandemic years, and it was delayed. So at the time, the work that I was doing, we were struggling with finding a space, and to try and make anything sustainable in Singapore, the rental is always the biggest expense. So the way we managed to squeeze in was that the library, because of its delayed opening schedule, we happened to be at the right place at the right time. They were trying to set an example of how public spaces can be inclusive. And at the time, we were developing programs that would bring the digital fabrication closer to people who need it the most. And initially, the discussions were all seen as we're doing something super weird. But it took one person to say, okay, fine, let's give this a chance and see how it goes. So we set up for a limited time, and in that limited time, we very clearly had a response from the people who were coming to the library, and that led to one Sunday after the other, and now it's been 2 years. So the realization we had is a bit like what Sema was talking about. We had to rethink a lot of what we went into the space with. We thought that, look, we know this technology is going to help people. We know that it will reduce the cost and make things customizable to the point where people will be able to make their own things. But what we realized is nobody's aware of this as an option. The perception of 3D printing is incredibly fragmented. Some people think that it is just a hobbyist thing. It's meant to make cute and cuddly toys or keychains, and that's about it. Others think that it's too expensive, or you need to go and learn how to do 3D modeling and become a product designer before you can make something simple. So these perceptions are coming from all sorts of different places. And in a public space, we're able to hold that physical space to have that conversation, have that discussion, and bring people to a point where they have a common understanding of, okay, it's really not that complicated, or, oh my God, I can actually do this, and all I have to do is download something and print it. That's amazing. So a lot of the times we facilitate that sharing, and we understand the person's need from not just the people who are using the devices, but also from the caregivers, and they're able to help each other out a lot of the times. So how do we make this sustainable, which is the second part of your question, is we struggling with that. Right now, it's a voluntary organization. We're a bunch of volunteers, people who have come from a very diverse set of backgrounds, much like the gig group. Everybody has their own specialties, but the commonality is that they see potential in applying their skill set towards helping people help themselves. And it could be, I mean, my background is in tech. I'm a geek. I know nothing about fashion design or the medical side of disability, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to hold space for people to be able to exchange ideas. And so through that process, I'm able to operate. Now, I'm not alone in this. The other people who are part of the group, they're able to bring themselves to this public space on their own self-funding, if you like. So we do this only once a week. And this is designed for two purposes. One, that's the only way we can afford it. We don't have to pay anybody. We have 0 staff. And the other is that we don't burn out. Everybody has a day job during the week. And on Sundays, you're able to sort of think about setting aside that time. And because it's just once a week, there's enough space in between to be able to let the idea sink or let the idea reveal itself. So right now we're operating once a week, and that's how we're able to sustain ourselves. But at the same time, we're looking for funding to be able to make that more days a week with some stuff. I hope that addresses the question.
Yes, the first part of the question, and I think it's really important for us to learn about, as we're also looking to understand what could different activities look like in libraries that Makertech will be conducting as part of the pilots in year 2. Barbara, I think we have time for one or two
Yeah.
more questions. So Barbara, over to you.
It's just a quick follow-up question, Saad, and thanks a lot for your presentation. It's great to hear what you continue doing. I was just wondering then what's happening the rest of the week in this makerspace in the library? I mean, do people use it for free for whatever they want, or are there also specific topic activities, or even for your activities? Do you sometimes have a call like on that Saturday we focus on a certain product, I mean, on adapting, a certain open design, for example, for a certain group of people? Is it completely open? That's a short question.
Excellent question. Thank you for that. No, yes, every Sunday is unique. and we hold space and say, okay, who is around the table? What do you care about? What do you care about? What do you care about? We find the commonalities. We bring out examples that may have come from other Sundays or may have been in an online catalog. We put them on the table, and that sets the agenda for that particular Sunday. At the same time, we have regular volunteers who come back and continue on projects that may have started a few Sundays ago. So it's sort of like creating a temporal space, but the projects have their own life, and depending on how much people have the time and space to spend on it, they're able to see it through. So we hold space for those projects to continue, and they don't get left out. So it is incredibly open-ended, but every now and again we have a little pop-up that is themed around, say, physical things or everyday activities of daily living or wheelchair oriented, to sort of get people to start thinking about what they might be concerned with. And everybody has somebody that uses a wheelchair, or everybody knows somebody in their friend circle who's struggling with a particular kind of way of doing things. And so we invite them to think about those people and bring those problem statements to the table, and they might be able to bring something back. And then once the person that they're thinking about has a chance to try it, we use that feedback to then show them how to redesign and customize. So every Sunday is unique.
Thank you, Saad. I will try to, thanks, Ricardo. You also helped answer Sigrid's question in writing. And I would have just said the same. We're trying to take a very modular approach. So it's up to the individual libraries whether they might already have a maker space and we'll just add content on fashion and craft and circularity to it, or perhaps they want to create a small pop-up maker space or just invest in certain machines. So we're just trying to make the approach as modular as possible to fit the life realities of the libraries and make sure we don't create something that cannot be sustained after the project ends. Hope that helps answer. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, maybe just a couple of words on how to stay in touch and what to look out for next. Maybe you also have some pointers, Sandra, but just quickly from my side, like I said in the beginning, this is the first of the MakerTech community calls. We will be hosting more, and we would love to let you know about them. If you learned about this call in a way that you feel we might not find you again for next ones, but we would like to be informed, please do reach out to us and let us know. We'd be happy to add you to our outreach channels. You could also sign up to our newsletter, MakerTech newsletter. Gig also, of course, has a newsletter you could sign up to. And the next community call we are planning for mid-June on the topic of heritage, craft, and circular design. There's one hand that went up. We have a couple of minutes more left. Camilla, do you want to
It's
please?
just very short. Since this was the first community meeting, so how does it function? Because today I have been in the project writing phase, and I've been involved before the application for libraries. And today, for the first time, my colleagues that are responsible for one library are here. There are 3 of them. It could be that others get interested, and we will invite them for the next meeting on the 11th of June. But my question is also, like, you are going to invite the people that are talking during these meetings, so it is or can we eventually invite also some organizations that are locally active and could be participating in the conversation?
Yeah,
That would be fantastic.
absolutely.
That's a
There
great
are
idea.
many levels. Oh, sorry, you don't.
Yeah, Sandra, please go ahead.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, there are many levels of collaboration within the project. So these calls that we have now are online calls. Anyone is invited from all the different communities, but it's not a must be there for any of the participating libraries in the Make a Take project. But just, yeah, we try to bring as many groups together as we can in the online setting. But then you would do local activities where you would do these either in person or online and invite people and communities from Milan and surrounding regions. And then third level, you can always suggest topics and people we should bring in for these global meetings. So if you say, I have this super cool migrant designer who is creating fashion that is sustainable and circular out of their own heritage. And you want to suggest them for the next community call, that will be also very welcomed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, now it was just not so clear when before meeting today what this meeting was about. It is more clear now. It is like a meeting that has the aim to be inspiring for us throughout the project, getting inspiring examples, and then develop our own solutions locally.
Yes,
What a perfect
absolutely.
summary to this
Okay.
call. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
but
Anna.
I think that it is very important to start with the description of what we are going to do during the hour that we meet, because it is not always clear to everybody.
I definitely hope
Like
that
if there are new people, since it is community building, it may be that the next time there are other people that were not here this time. So I suggest that you introduce well the aims of the meeting.
yeah, thank you for your
That's it.
feedback. It's super valuable. Since it's the first one, that it's really appreciated to hear how you got here and how the meeting was for you. So yeah, thank you very much for the feedback. We will be sure to take it up and make sure we find a good way of communicating the aims to the different communities joining and the different stakeholder groups. And yes, you summarized it perfectly. These meetings are meant as a place for inspiration
It is
and for
really
global
inspiring.
exchange. Lovely. I'm
Really
really glad to hear
inspiring.
that.
For me, it was really inspiring. We have already we have a Fab Lab, and I have already ideas to talk with our referent of the Fab Lab and make the signals for the library in Braille with the 3D printer. So it could be very nice to develop those ideas too.
I'm really happy to hear that. Well, that's great to have already such a concrete outcome. We are also, of course, happy to exchange contacts. Saad is also a creator of an open source Braille device. So there's more connections, I think, to be made in the upcoming months. If you have more feedback and suggestions, our email boxes are open for you. Please don't hesitate to write to us. And also, if you have any wishes or ideas for these global online community sessions, we're really happy to accept your suggestions. So please don't be shy reaching out and writing to us. Next one coming up in June. And thanks for linking the Braille wrap in the chat, Sad. And for those of you who might be in and around Berlin, we also have the Gig Week coming up from May 25th to May 30th with Republica in the middle. So if you want to join and meet our community who's coming in person, please also feel free to reach out to us. And I really want to say a special thank you again to Sema and to Saad for your wonderful presentations today. I hope we can hear and learn lots more from you through the course of the project. And let's have a virtual round of applause. And big thanks to you all for coming. It was really great to see so many people in the court today. We'll be sharing documentation infos and also, of course, in the Make a Tech newsletter. So if you enjoyed today and you feel you want to pass on the information to other colleagues, there will be the recording and documentation. Please, again, feel free to sign up to the newsletter and reach out. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You.